Or let's go to the legislature, 100 of us with packets of info and talk to legislators about passing 10th and 9th Amendment resolutions and what that means in our state. Pick an issue, pick an enemy, attack it. I mean, that's how this works, folks. Take action. Stop screwing around, okay? When you engage the enemy, you will smash them. But you've got to get up off your hind ends and start engaging them. We've got the truth. We've got history. We've got the red, white, and blue. We got George Washington's spirit behind us. We've got what it takes. We've got the red blood. All they've got's the scam. We can sweep these people aside as soon as we get a fighting spirit.
Amen, Alex. Amen to that. You know, one thing in the film that we talk about is solutions. And Charles Key, one of the representatives in the state of Oklahoma, has some excellent solutions that give teeth to the 10th Amendment. A lot of people say, well, you can pass a resolution, but it's just, it doesn't mean anything. Well, he has actual legislation he talks about in the film that will give teeth to the 10th Amendment. And we want everyone to go to don'ttreadonme.com/screening.html. They can register for their screening right now. There are over 106 screenings publicly listed on our website right now, and there are over 192 cities that are involved in this effort. So
well done.
Viewers to take it.
Well done, and they can do it again a month later in July and have 500 cities. And again, people are welcome to do this with my documentaries as well. Get the word out. But this film is so important because it deals with how to take the states back, how to take the counties back, how to get our sheriffs elected, how to kick the corrupt feds, who are nothing but errand boys for offshore banks, out of our states. Get out of here. And how the states can say, we're keeping our money. The feds aren't going to tell us how to live our lives. The feds aren't going to tell us how to run our schools. The feds aren't going to tell us what to do with our... It's over. It's over. Gary Franchi, let's go to some calls. I want to go to the Genesis phone line system, then I'll go back to Adam, Rachel, and others that are holding on our phone system down here. We're taking calls on both phone systems today. Who is up first here, Genesis? Who should I go to first? Mike in Georgia, down there with all the Georgia peaches. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, Mr. Jones, when talking about this incident down in the Gulf, there's two things that come up that I would like to be asked of anybody that has any expertise. One of them is the casing that they changed the design just days before the incident happened. They went from a 5-inch casing to what was reported as a 9 7/8 to a 7-inch diameter. And this was discussed in the MMS Coast Guard hearings. And I'm quoting out of this when they're talking to Mark Hafley, who was the VP engineer. It says, when they ask him the question, don't you think the size of the casing you set up your Halliburton Seamaners for failure? Okay, so basically, it doesn't sound like they were trying to tunnel. It sounds like they were trying to build a bomb. And
I've seen that, and excise that out again and send it to showtips@infowars.com, because I read that a few days ago. And exactly, and that's why everybody started throwing fits 2 weeks before when they got the order to add a larger casing on top of a smaller casing. And I'm no petroleum geologist, don't know very little about drilling, but more than most of the general public, because I've done some research on it, but still almost nothing. And we're going to do some shows with drilling experts, petroleum geologists. A lot of them are scared to come on because they don't want to be blackballed by BP, because they can, they all work together with the oil companies, kind of stick together. But it's on record that the people were on the rig, and this isn't normal, calling up, head engineers and cussing at the BP people in Houston. Going, listen, you bleeper, this is going to blow up. And then 2 weeks later it did. The men on the ships and the other engineers sat there and watched engineers. And believe me, this doesn't go on, folks, because I've talked to a lot of my family that works as petroleum engineers, roughnecks, plant managers. I had a great uncle just died who ran for decades one of the biggest plants in Houston. Let me tell you, those people are yes, sir, no, sir, and that's old-fashioned, and they bust their butt. It's like a slave operation on these oil rigs. My uncle worked offshore, the one out in East Texas. In fact, I ought to get him on about this. And, you don't have head engineers with 2 or 3 degrees going, listen, you effing idiots, this is going to blow up. Do you understand that that's on record that was going on?
Well, there's also on record they talk about how they dumped the drilling mud before the concrete had an opportunity to set up. There was a professor, Robert B., who was on 60 Minutes. He's from UC Berkeley. He's an engineer there. He's been testifying. And that's the other thing I like. Why did they let the drilling mud out before it had an opportunity to set up? You know, it's like they pulled the pin on the grenade with that one. And the other one about redesigning is like that's when they designed the bomb.
It's amazing. I'd read that, and that's the problem. I read all this, and I get in here, and it's like, how do you even cover it? I'm going to try to do some of that with Chapman, just hit headlines and get his take on it, some way to get all this news out, because it gets... Gary Franchi, I mean, that is crazy that they did something here never done before and unorthodox, and hours before it blew up, they made another secret alteration that had people all over the drilling rig throwing fits.
Well, it's irresponsible behavior, and look what happened. You know, now we have the fishing, shrimping boats out there in Louisiana. People are getting sick. Industry's dying there. It's an absolute national tragedy, and it's just one more reason why we have to move to alternative fuels, hydrogen fuel cells based on water, Stanley Myers type technology. That's the solution, Alex.
Well, just a few weeks ago, Jacobson here in the office brought me an amazing New Scientist article. Then we pulled up some others where MIT, in the last few years, developed a type of cheap solar panel that could literally free us from the power grid, and then the World Bank bought it and won't let anyone have it. Just another example of confirmed technology that taxpayer money pays for, and then that DARPA just grabs and goes, here you go, World Bank. You're our banking parasites. We worship you. More calls straight ahead. Stay with us. You know, I wanted to spend a whole hour today on boat's head to teen sailor drifting in Indian Ocean. I said a prayer for her myself, because when you have children, especially daughters, you just imagine your 16-year-old daughter. My daughters aren't 16 yet, but you imagine them in the future 16, out in the southern Indian Ocean between Africa and Australia, totally shark-infested waters, 30-plus foot waves, and how the nanny state wants to ban 13, 14-year-old scaling Everest. Her brother, when he was 16, had the world record sailing, circumnavigating the globe. You know how many thousands of ships have gone down just coming to the New World? How many tens of thousands of ships? In some cases, reading some of the logs from the 1800s, 1600s before that, as many as a third of the ships would be lost. I mean, full-grown men on sailing ships get lost. This is what our species has done to build what we built. We're going to have those type of losses if we expect to colonize space. This is what humanity is all about. I don't have the courage. I'm not scared of, like, fighting some, 200-pound guy with a knife. But I am scared of getting on a sailboat and circumnavigating the world. I've been out in the middle of the ocean. It's scary. We're all scared of different things. I mean, this is pure Americana. This is pure human. This is pure trailblazing. And this young lady, instead of watching TV and playing with her iPad all day, she is out there doing something special. You know how many men died trying to circumnavigate the globe? Do you know who circumnavigated the globe first? Magellan. And he died, by the way. His ship made it back. I think it was only like 16 people alive out of hundreds that went. The ship had rotted down to almost nothing. Took him, 3 years? Magellan got killed fighting natives, trying to come in water and get coconuts. Circumnavigator. She's doing what Magellan did. All right, I'm going to shut up now. Gary Franchi, and again, in the midst of all this big global news, all these things that are happening, it's still interesting, and just to hear this morning that she put out the emergency beacons when her boat got capsized in those 30-foot, and it was what was predicted, a rogue wave, which comes in from the wrong angle, and that she's alive, at least for now. That is great news. Well,
Alex, it's the fighting human spirit, the exploration spirit that made America great, as you know, as you just mentioned. And you said so many people have perished searching for freedom. People are still perishing, fighting for freedom. And it's it's the people who are listening to the show out there in the streets now fighting for freedom in a new way, and that's by passing out DVDs, that's by hosting screenings, it's by emailing their friends and their family, attending protests. We all have a spirit inside of us that craves freedom, and
the New World Order's one desire is to outlaw that spirit, outlaw that behavior, and make us jellyfish, and that's why people aren't happy, because they're not alive.
You're absolutely right. The New World Order is crushing the human spirit, and we have to revitalize the human spirit. Exploration is absolutely crucial to that. It's satisfying the curiosity of the mind to learn new things. And I understand that Obama has just canceled all manned space flight for NASA. I mean, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I remember going to NASA Cape Canaveral as a child and awing at the massive structures of spaceships.
Exactly, but don't worry, we got 28 trillion, and we haven't got new numbers in 6 months, so I'm sure it's 35, 36, 37 trillion.